Hello, my name is Fred Gago, and I'm here to help introduce you to SketchBook Pro 6 by using some of the basic tools to create an op art slash pop art illustration of a lotus flower. I'm using a Mac to run SketchBook Pro, so when I refer to keyboard commands, I'll be saying Command in the key, but if you're on a PC, then just replace Command with the Control key. Today I'm going to mostly be using the chisel tip marker, which can be found in the toolbar on the left side of the canvas, on the right side of the toolbar, and I'll be using the flood tools, which you can find just below the middle of the toolbar. To create my flower, I want to use one of the symmetry tools, and I'll do that by either clicking Y on the keyboard, which will make this dotted line appear on the Y axis, or you could click at the top of the canvas here in the toolbar. There's the symmetry tools, and you can just click on the Y axis symmetry. With my marker and black selected, I'm going to start drawing some shapes. Anytime I undo, I'll be hitting Command Z, Control Z if you're on a Mac, a PC. And I'm just going to start drawing my leaves. And I'm not worrying about any intersecting lines, as I'll go back and clean those up in just a few minutes. I'll use my hard eraser, which is just above my flood tool. I'll size the brush down as I need to with the brackets on the keyboard, left and right, to size up and down. And because I have my symmetry on, it'll also erase on both sides. And in the case of the center, I'm going to turn off my symmetry tool by clicking on it at the toolbar and just picking one of my leaves to overlap the other here. And I'll clean this up as best as I could. And there is my first lotus leaf. I'll take my chisel tip marker again, and I'll just draw a little bit of detail by adding just some breaks in my leaves. Actually, I think I'm going to add one more set of leaves at the base, which will be my green leaves. I'll turn symmetry back on, and I'll just draw some smaller leaves here at the base. I'll undo until I get what I like. And I think that's what I'm looking for. And I'll turn my eraser back on and just erase these intersecting lines. Turn symmetry back off. And here's my first lotus. Now, I'm going to take this lotus. I'm going to use my lasso tool. That's hitting L on the keyboard, or you can find it at the top toolbar towards the left-hand side. And I'm going to select my entire lotus, and I'm going to rotate it at about 45 degrees. And you can see the angle that I'm turning it to at the bottom center of the canvas. Gonna zoom out a little by holding the space bar and clicking and dragging to the left from the center so that I can position this. I'm going to copy by hitting Command C and pasting by hitting Command V. And I'm going to rotate this. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. Oops. And I'm going to make them touch. What I want to do is create a symmetrical pattern. And now that I have what I like, I'm going to grab my marquee tool here next to the lasso at the top of the toolbar towards the left. And I'm going to grab both of these. And I'm going to Command C and copy and Command V and paste them again. And I'm also going to rotate them 180 degrees and place them here so that I have a symmetrical pattern. And I'll hit the marquee tool again to deselect. I'll hold down the V key on the keyboard to reposition and scale. I'm going to hit Command A to select all, hit Command C again to copy, and Command V again to paste. This time I'm going to size it down so that it fits into the center. Going to make it a little smaller. And I'm going to leave a little room because I'm going to add another shape in between them. So they're not exactly touching. Just going to position it so I have some space. Deselect with my marquee tool by hitting it again or hitting M on the keyboard. I'm going to open up my layers palette by hitting the icon on the right hand side of the top toolbar and adding a new layer by hitting the plus icon in the layers palette that opens up. I'm going to go back to my chisel tip brush and I'm going to deselect the freehand option here at the top. And I'm going to move over to my oval shape. And by holding down Shift when I drag, I'm going to create a perfect circle. And I can hold down V to move that into place. I'm going to actually undo that by hitting Command Z. And I'm going to increase my brush size just a bit so that I can create a slightly thicker circle. That's better. I'm going to scale this down just a bit. Again, with my finger on V on the keyboard to open my transform puck. And I just want to make sure that it's touching all the sides. There you go. I'm going to now hit Command E, which will merge my two layers. See in the layers palette, and I'll just hit Command E, and now that all becomes one layer. I'm going to add yet another layer by hitting the plus icon again. And I'm going to go from my oval tool to my line tool, and I think I'll use my brackets to increase the size just a bit again. And I want to create this line through the center on the x-axis, and I'm going to do it again on the V. And I'll hold down V again to just move things just a bit so that it feels pretty centered. Now I'll go in with my hard eraser tool and I'll erase the parts of that I don't want. Remember to deselect your line tool and go back to your freehand tool at the top toolbar. Increase my brush size with the brackets. And I'm just going to erase out of my center circle. And here's the template for my lotus flower. Now basically all I have to do is add some color and this piece will be done. To do that, I'm going to use my Fled tool, which can be found right under the hard eraser tool on the left-hand side toolbar. And I'm going to start picking some interesting colors. To do that, I'm going to go into my Colors Editor palette, which is located at the top toolbar, almost all the way to the right. I prefer to use my hue saturation brightness sliders. And if you don't know where that is, it's here in your color editor options, at the top you have your sliders option, and you have 4 different options to choose from. I like HSB, and I'm going to start with something simple. I'll pick a very light magenta. Remember to, at this point, merge your layers. Command E again, so that we're all working on one layer, so that anything I fill will all happen on this layer. You notice when I clicked in here, it flooded more of an area that I wanted. And when that happens, you hit Command Z and undo. Let's double click our flood tool here in our toolbar and adjust our brush properties and lower our tolerance. So now when I go in here, it only floods the parts that I want. Perfect. And I'm going to leave, in my colors editor, I'm going to leave my saturation alone for now and my brightness, and I'm just going to adjust the hue, which is the actual color, so that they all pretty much have the same value. I'm going to pick a few pastel-ish colors, and I'm going to divide up my areas into 4 different color schemes. If you need to reselect the color you've already used while you have your flood tool, hold down Option to grab your color picker and click on any color that you've already used. And now I'll pick some more saturated colors. And I'll make my remaining lotus all the same. Now this style of art, this op art, is meant to give you a bit of an illusion, a false sense of movement. And we do that by creating this interesting pattern. Let's make sure we use the right colors in each section as to stay consistent. And I like to pick colors and sometimes just adjust them slightly by adjusting their saturation or brightness. This can be done very quickly. And remember, when you want to create at least one symmetrical object, you can use your symmetry tools. They come in very handy. And I'll close some of these things so we can see our image a little better. And this is our lotus flower. I'm Fred Gago for SketchBook Pro 6 for Autodesk. Enjoy!